Greetings, welcome back. We are here today for another grand special episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports Podcast. My name is Jeff Long. I'm here with several of my esteemed colleagues. I'm here with Ben, Mr. 40 Holloway. I'm here with Gary Johnson, 0-40, Gary Johnson, and Marissa Tigney, who all of a sudden thinks the Lions are automatically going to win the Super Bowl. And we also have Mr. Jeff Pearlman himself. And I think you are a Dolphins fan, sir?
I'm not. I just like the hat.
Gotcha. Who's your team, sir? And thank you for joining.
Sure. Weirdly, considering I'm wearing this hat, I'm a diehard Jet fan.
Woo. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Are you okay? Like, we're here to provide support.
This is a safe space.
It's a safe space.
You know what? I'm not taking crap from a Lions fan who's gone through just as much pain as I've gone through.
No, this is not crap. This is legitimately a safe space because I was rooting for y'all after what had happened, what had transpired. Trust and believe.
I just want to say, it's like throughout my life, so I'm 51 years old. I became a Jet fan when I was about 6 because my brother, who's 2 years older, picked the Giants. So I said, okay, I'll root for the Jets. True story. So now I've been a Jet fan all these years. And we always say that's such a Jet thing. That's such a Jet thing. There has never, ever in history been more of a Jet thing than what happened to Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. It's the most Jet thing ever.
Yeah. Yep. You know, like, and it's like, and I was at the hotel here, and I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Beautiful area. Y'all got to come here. Beautiful. Good food and tacos. Got to go to Locals for sushi and tacos, by the way. Shout out to them. But anyway, yeah, everyone was like, and you could see the tendon, like you could see it like snap. If you watch it in slow motion, that
slow motion, yeah.
That hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. It really does. But we will get to the Jets. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers and all that. And we'll talk about those Bills and why I think they didn't play up to the potential without Von Miller, but we'll talk about that in a second. So tonight we're going to be discussing final results of the fan polling, NFL Week 1, fantasy football, and much more. And Mr. Pearlman, we will be asking you a couple questions. Again, it is an honor having you on, so we really do appreciate it. And we'll definitely give you time to tell everyone about the lovely things that you're doing here in a second. But Ben, fan polling, sir, how did the results look?
Sure.
Interesting things. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. So I was just going to say thank you in advance, but thank you for everyone in the past who voted. We appreciate everyone's votes. What we did is we took 8 teams from baseball, NFL, hockey, NBA, did NCAA tournament style 1v8, 2v7. Ultimately, we got the best 4, and then we said, you know what? Let's find out the best. And the finals ended up being, which I thought was going to be the case, and it's how it worked out. 18-1 Patriots. By the best teams that didn't win a championship. So 18-1 Patriots versus the 73-9 Warriors. 130 votes for the final, and 59% to 41%. 18-1 Patriots. Again, thank you for everyone who voted on every round, and I can't say that I'm that surprised because, and I don't want to spend too much time on the polling because we got a lot of stuff to go. But, I mean, the 18-1 Patriots, they started off that season just blowing everybody out. They slowed down towards the end, but I can't say I'm surprised with the final result. And to the fans out there, we are going to do more. Probably going to go to college football next, but stay tuned on that. But thank you again for everyone who voted.
No doubt. And when we do get to college football, the only team that we can't have is the Michigan Wolverines.
Oh my gosh!
I'm calling executive. I'm pulling the executive decision on this one. Gary, I know how much you love college football. Jeff, do you have a college football team, sir?
Yeah, the Delaware Blue Hens.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from New York, but I attended the University of Delaware, and I don't want to brag, but Delaware last weekend. Delaware with a big 63-7 loss at Penn State. So.
Oof. Okay, well. I mean, Elena Deladon, right? I mean,
Joe Flacco, Rich Gannon.
Yeah, Joe Flacco.
Flacco.
There we go.
Joe Biden.
Hey,
there you go.
There we go. I respect it. I really do. But Ben, want to give you props for what you've been doing with the polling. I know I called you like randomly at lunch one day. I was like, let's just do some polling, and it's been really great. So we're really, really, really excited about this. So let's kind of transition here, and Mr. Pearlman. Well, Jeff, it's always good to have another Jeff, even though I kind of say my way of Jeff is spelled a little bit cooler, but it's still cool to have another Jeff. But Mr. Pearlman, no, you want to tell everyone, like, just, we usually wait to the end, but because the books that you've written and the work that you've done, you just kind of just want to give a shout out to the listeners of some of the projects that you've worked on in the past for people who don't know who the Jeff Pearlman is. I just want to give you 30 seconds before we inundate you with questions.
I've written 10 books. My first book was about the 86 Mets. I wrote Brett Favre's biography, Walter Payton's biography, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. I wrote a book about the Showtime Lakers that became Winning Time. I wrote a follow-up book called Three Ring Circus. Very nice, Gary, about the Shaq Kobe era. My last book was about Bo Jackson called The Last Folk Hero. And I'm currently working on my first non-sports book, which is a biography of Tupac.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Tupac in the house. Okay. Nice. So just want to throw you a quick question here, and then I'll throw it to Ben and then Marissa and Gary. What got you interested in writing about Showtime? And again, the movie, or the show rather, was phenomenal. And the book itself has gotten really great reviews. I just purchased it. I'm excited about reading all your books now. But what about that one, about Showtime, made you want to write it? What inspired you to do it? I'm just curious, as a Lakers fan.
Well, I didn't grow up a Laker fan. I grew up in a tiny town called Mahopac, New York. And when I was a kid in the 80s, my team was the New Jersey Nets. And the Nets sucked. It was the Nets of like Buck Williams and Pearl Washington, Mike Okora, and they were terrible. But I remember being a kid. This is before you can watch every game anywhere at any time. And there was always something magical when they would have the Lakers as a national game of the week. And you'd be sitting there freezing your ass off in New York. And it'd be like, live from the Forum in Inglewood. And they would, the palm trees over there and the coast. And you see the Laker girls. You'd see Jack Nicholson and Diane Cannon. And you'd see Magic with a smile, and Kareem with the goggles, and James Worthy's. I always just felt really special. And I now live in Southern California. Like, that really sort of whet my appetite. And I just always I like diving into nostalgia. Like, to me, sports, food, and music are the three nostalgia points that most people share. And I'm very nostalgic about that time period. And nobody wants to read a book about the 1987 New Jersey Nets, but they certainly would want to read a book about the Lakers.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you just think about like that time period, and Ben, I'll toss it to you. I mean, that was just like Magic Johnson to be a rookie and to play center in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I mean, that's just not something like you see. And he's probably my favorite Laker, probably one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, he's 6'9" point guard. But Ben, go ahead. What's your question, sir?
Sure. And Jeff, thanks for coming on. And this whole thing, has been fun. And the Bo Jackson book, for anyone who's listening or will listen in the future, if you think you know how great of an athlete he is, you don't know. He's just a phenomenal athlete. I can almost guarantee 100 times more than what you think. So fantastic book, and the guy was the insane athlete. So my question on the more simple, I think, would be, throughout your time doing the books and even outside of the books, who's been like your favorite person to interview?
I mean, I don't have one. Like, every book comes with somebody, and it's not who you would expect often. Like, for the Showtime book about the Lakers, my favorite person was Wanda Cooper, Michael Cooper's wife, because ex-wife, because she was just really honest and really raw. And another guy was Wes Matthews, a backup point guard for 5 years. So I interviewed at a diner in Bridgeport, and Wes was just honest and cutting and slicing and unforgiving and, really cool. So, I mean, the New York Mets, the 86 Mets, my favorite guy was Kevin Mitchell, and Mookie Wilson, guys like that. I think about the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't Emmett or Michael Irvin. It was like Clayton Holmes, a defensive back, or Babe Laufenberg, a backup quarterback. Usually what you find is, you would think from a fan's vantage point that the people you're most excited to are the stars. But for me personally, the people I really find the most useful and the most insightful are the people who haven't been asked about these experiences a million times over. Magic Johnson's been asked about the Showtime Lakers so many times that you start wondering whether he's remembering the event or just remembering the same story he's told over and over again. So I really like interviewing the people who remember the events precisely.
Especially because, to your point, like, they haven't done interviews about it. They haven't talked to someone, so they're like eager to talk about it.
There's an old movie that I really like called Everybody's All American, and it was with Dennis Quaid and Jessica Lange. Very underrated movie about kind of a washed-up football player who had his college glory days and went on to play in the NFL, but was never the same. And he talked about there's a scene in them where he's just distraught at what his life has become, and he literally says, "I don't even know if the stories I'm telling are what I remember or just stories I'm telling." And I just think that's kind of a thing with athletes when they tell the same stories over and over again on the chicken dinner circuit. So I like fresh stories.
Nice. I respect it. Awesome. Marissa?
Welcome to the show, Jeff. I need to check out your books. I have not read any of them. And after listening to Ben talk about your literature, I definitely will check into that. I'm curious to know, you had said that your current book that you're getting ready to write or have been writing is about Tupac. What is it that is fascinating to you about Tupac that we have not heard without giving so much away of what you're writing? Because we've seen documentaries and stories and, the curiosity of, who shot Tupac and his, backstory and upcoming from a single, parent household. What fascinated you about Tupac Shakur and your interest in writing about him in your book that you're doing?
So all I do these days is think about Tupac, like, nonstop. And I've interviewed about 400 people so far, and it's due in a year. And I think oftentimes what happens, like, I was waiting for a long time for a definitive, all-encompassing, detailed birth to death Tupac biography, not just some gimmicky nonsense about Tupac and Biggie, not just some talk about Suge Knight and Death Row, but like who this guy is, where he comes from, where he really comes from, what led him down this path. And I just think what happens oftentimes with celebrity, especially celebrities who die young, is a narrative is formed and is repeated over and over and over and over again. And people just regurgitate the same stories over and over again. And for me, just as an example, like Tupac, the most fascinating year of his life is he spent his early years in New York. Then he went to Baltimore, went to the Baltimore School for the Arts, went to Dunbar High School for 1 year, Baltimore School for the Arts for 2 years. His mom is addicted to crack. They relocate to Marin City, California. He lives in this area. Marin County is wealthy and uber white. And there's this one nook called Marin City, and it's public housing. And its nickname is the Jungle. And it's mostly black. It's crack infested. It's downtrodden. There's a lot of crime, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, Tupac is thrown into this world, right? This world. He didn't know anyone. And the crazy thing is, he's an arts kid. Like Tupac, one of the things that just drives me crazy, Tupac was never in a gang. Tupac did not sell drugs. Tupac was not a quote unquote thug. He was an arts kid. He was the kid who was bussed into the school, his senior year of high school in Marin City, who was like the artsy kid listening to Kate Bush with like bad teeth, wearing the same clothes every day because he was very poor.
Yeah.
With a haircut he cut himself, like a Gumby, misguided kid haircut, like the high top fade. He wasn't like, he was an arts kid. Like he was an art school kid. He was a drama kid. He was a theater kid. He could quote Shakespeare. He was listening to Don McLean and Kate Bush and Hall & Oates and Tears for Fears. Like he was, and I'm just fascinated by that period. And I just think people get it wrong over and over and over again. So
see, that part that you just shared, I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
Learned something new. Thank you for
and
sharing
I will
that.
say, I'm being serious. Like one thing that's interesting is like, and I say this, and I've been trying to not use it for my advantage, but be very open about it. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a white guy and I'm a white sports writer and I'm 50 years old and I'm from upstate New York. And early on when I was working on this, someone said to me, a person I very much admire, a black journalist, said, you're going to run into a lot of trouble or difficulty because you're just a white outsider. And the thing that I've really loved and relished about this is it's been the exact opposite. It's like, if you come with curiosity, do your research, and you actually acknowledge that there are things you do not know. Yeah. Like I don't walk into a room and pretend I'm this guru of all things Tupac. In fact, I admit I'm not. I mean, I love Tupac. I know his music well. But like, if you just come in and you say, look, this is me. Like, this is me. I'm so curious about this. I really want to get it right. I don't feel like anyone's ever gotten it right.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of transcends race, class, geography, etc. And people say, oh, this is a guy who really at least has integrity about it. And that's what I'm
You're
saying.
right.
I mean,
I look
Jeff,
forward to this. Thank you.
Yeah,
no
thank
doubt.
you.
And Gary, throwing it to you, like, but Jeff, like, it's like, to me, like, talking about like Biggie or Tupac or some of these other rappers, I don't think it has anything to do like with skin color. Like, to your point, it's about being authentic and just like, being honest and recognizing, like, game recognizes game, right? So like, you admitting and just being open and acting like you don't know. I respect that more than even someone who comes from even my own community and want to act like Tupac. Like,
That part.
I didn't really listen to rap music growing up. Like, I was a kid in Baltimore County listening to freaking, Coldplay and Fall Out Boy and all those guys. I listened to a bit of Ludacris. So, hey, you know a little more about Tupac than me. So,
I also think that's a good point. And I think like a lot of times now, as a sports writer, just as an example, when I would be covering a game, there are a lot of times you kind of BS your way through stuff. And like, you may not admit you don't know something because you don't want to look like this. But like, in a way, it's kind of liberating. Like, I'm an outsider. I have never written about hip hop before in any serious way. This is all new to me as a writer. Educate me, inform me, tell me. Like, I've been interviewing producers. I will literally say, I've never been in a studio creating music. Tell me what the step-by-step, break it down. And it's so freaking educational. It's so like delightfully eye-opening. And it's just been one of the great, it's hard. It's really hard, but it's been one of the great experiences in my life.
The cool thing is that you are going on a journey yourself while writing this book, that your readers are also going to go on a journey as well. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited about it from what you shared.
I have one more thing, if I may. Like, one thing that I find, recently I was in Marin City and I was interviewing a guy. He was a crack dealer when Tupac was growing up there. It's really interesting because Tupac's mom, Afeni, was hardcore. She was a hardcore crack addict at the time. And these guys were, either selling her drugs or sort of providing drugs to other people who were selling her drugs. At the same time, they're friends with their son. And the thing this guy said to me, we're sitting in his car in Marin City, and it's now like 60. He's not dealing drugs anymore, whatever. But he's like, you have to understand, for us growing up here, none of us thought we would live past 25. Like, it wasn't a thing. And I said to him, I was like, it's just one of the joys of this whole process. Like, I never assumed I wouldn't live past 25. Like, I always assumed I would go to college. My dad was a CPA. My mom was a probation officer. I was going to go to college. My education would be paid for. And when you sit there and you're talking to some guy who made his money selling crack and just wanted to make as much as possible for his family because he knew he wasn't going to live long, it's so ridiculously educational and eye-opening. And I think, like, people who don't, I've said this a million times to people I know in my life, like my family. I'm like, every white person in America should have the experience of doing a Tupac Shakur book, because you will learn more about what it is to be young and Black in the United States of America than in any book you'll ever read. And that's been, for me, one of the great educations of all time.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Gary?
So, first off, you said Mad Pack from White Plains, so same soil, first of all.
Moved here from New Rochelle. Live in California, but moved from New Rochelle.
I'm actually in White Plains right now. I live here, so.
Oh, man, you've been to the Target?
Of course. Funny.
Very nice.
So, saying that, obviously, you mentioned Tupac. You know what middle school he went to briefly for like that brief period of time.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Interviewed classmates in there. Very nice that you knew that. A lot of people don't know that. White Plains, New York. Yeah.
Shout out to Highlands. So I'm going to ask you more about, the Lakers, going back to it. As you saw, I'm a diehard Laker fan, always have been. Can you speak more about like the Southern California vibe? Like, what is it? And, you said you went east to west. My best friend who's from here lives in downtown LA. He said the exact same thing. There's an allure about California and about LA that drew him there, and he's been there for now almost 13 years at this point. Yeah. So, talk about like what I know what it is, because I know one day I want to retire there, but what is like the allure about Southern California in your words?
Okay. This is the best way I can explain it. I remember when I was a kid, the first Super Bowl I really remember, I was born in 1972. So in 1980, the Rams and the Steelers played in the Super Bowl. And the Rams quarterback was a guy named Vince Ferragamo. And I remember being a kid, and the game was played at the Rose Bowl. And I vividly remember seeing Vince Ferragamo. Vince Ferragamo was like a dashingly cool, good-looking guy, right? Young man. And he had the eye black, and he was number 15, and the Rams uniforms were cool. And there was the Rose Bowl, and the sun is shining off the helmet, the Rams helmet, and the palm trees along outside the Rose Bowl, and the big sign with the Rose Bowl. And I just there's something about that I've been chasing my whole life. Like, really, I've been chasing my whole life. It's the same thing with the Lakers and the Laker girls. It's not even about the Laker girls. I always say that. It's about the palm trees and the ocean and living out here now. I've been here with my family for 9 years, and it's actually legit. You're driving up the PCH, it's a Pacific Coast Highway, and you're passing the beaches, and you stop at a Shake Shack, or you stop and get some fish tacos, and the radio's playing, and may're listening to Randy Newman, I Love LA, or To Live and Die in LA by Pac, or whatever it is. And it's just so freaking glorious. It's kind of like on those times when you're in New York City and maybe it's November and the lights are up everywhere. And maybe you grab a hot dog or nuts for nuts from the cart and you're walking around and it's just there's a chill in the air. There's something about certain places that actually embody what you think they would embody. And to me, that's Southern California.
Right on. Exactly why I want to move there.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon, because them prices are ridiculous.
It is a little expensive. Yeah.
Mhm.
West Coast in general. Ouch.
East Coast too, though. If you want, the thing is everyone's always you got to move to Texas. And I'm yeah, but then I'm living in Texas. So
Yeah.
It's not cheap here.
Are you in Texas?
Yeah, I am, outside of Dallas.
Oh, I assumed you were in Michigan, just with the line.
I was born and raised in Michigan.
Got it.
Okay, nice. And then speaking of Michigan and Detroit,
Let's
I
go.
do believe, Marissa,
Let's go.
we just want to give you, we just want to throw you a bone.
Yes.
Just go for it. How do you really feel
Listen.
about your life?
Let me dedicate this Marisa moment, to every single Kansas City fan who has not returned my phone call, who has not said anything after all the 44 receipts that I have kept of every doggone Kansas City fan that let me know in the DMs and also on the social medias that told me that Patrick Levon Mahomes II was going to put 45 up on the Detroit Lions. And I stand corrected that even 20 plus 21, their scores combined do not equal 45. So that narrative and that silly remark that they have given me went out the window. But I digress. I am very proud of this team. I had said for weeks that they were going to win there on the road. They were previously 0-4-1. They proved themselves as such. I am very, very grateful to say that the Detroit Lions has something that they haven't had in a while, and it's starting to click on all cylinders. And finally, it's a defense. Their defense pretty much stifled Mahomes. He did have Mahomes-like moments with some passes, and of course, obviously, the score shows. But when you go on 3rd and 13 and you throw a ball that looked like it was going to be first down, but oops, it goes up in the air and lands in the hands of our second round steal of Brian Branch, and he takes it in for the score. And this young chocolate sister lost her goddamn mind in the middle of a restaurant. I mean, what else can you say but just, we're going to win this game. And mind you, at that time, too, I did have 6 Kansas City Chiefs fans in the background that was letting me know there was too much game left. And then they happened to disappear and leave at the end of the game. So 3 things that I took away from this. 1, we have a defense. 2, the phenomenal work again of Jared Goff not throwing an interception. At times, does the offense need to be cleaned up? Yes, of course it does. And but still, he's picking up where he left off. I was quite nervous because I did not see him in the preseason at all throw anything. It was between Sudfeld and Bridgewater, and I've already talked about that on a different show. But to see him go and pick up where he left off, I was incredibly grateful for it. 3rd point, David Montgomery. We took him from the Bears, brought him onto our team, put on a Honolulu blue, because I'm sure that he is having no regrets whatsoever being on a Bears team that looked completely lost. And I know we're going to talk about that in the segments coming up. But what he did in scoring on that touchdown, was just absolutely amazing. Runner up to all the things with 42 yards and 7 receptions, and not to be denied. Again, I am drinking the Jahmyr Gibbs Kool-Aid. That, again, you gentlemen have heard me say it, and Jeff's hearing me say it for the first time. When we picked him up in the draft, I did not think that we needed a running back. I was still sold on DeAndre Swift, and DeAndre Swift is no longer with the team. Jamal Williams is living his best anime life in New Orleans right now. So we have an incredible, quick running back that gets it. And I'm looking forward to so many more games, especially the one that's going to be at home at a sold-out Ford Field against Seattle, who signed a 41-year-old Jason Peters to the practice squad. So we should see about that. But there's no asterisk to this game. Shout out to Mike Tirico. This was an actual genuine win. I know they were without Chris Jones and Travis Kelce. Now they figured out a contract for Chris Jones and still trying to figure out how long Travis Kelce is going to be gone for. So I'm happy. Soon to be 2-0. Let's go. Go Lions. One pride.
All I'm going to say is, and I'll throw it to Jeff and then Ben, or then Jeff, then Gary, and then Ben, but like, there's no asterisks in NFL and in football.
No,
like there's no asterisks. I don't care what anyone else says. One, I'm happy whenever the Chiefs lose. 2, the Chiefs are trash, and 3, anyone that wears that jersey doesn't have a soul, and they should rethink their life choices for joining such a terrible, terrible team. A team that is a bunch of cheaters.
Yeah.
But,
all right, Jeff, you're going off the rails here.
Let me have it. Gary, 40-0, 40-0.
No, I'm saying I understand your pain, sir.
Okay.
I understand this.
Okay, you're on my side. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I'm on your side.
Okay.
I feel your pain right now.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that beatdown. But all I'm saying is that the Lions are for real. They're legit. I'm excited. Jeff, I said, like, if the Lions can just get a defense that can actually stop somebody, they're going to be something special, Jeff.
I don't have a quarterback. Like, I literally don't have a quarterback. We have Zach Wilson starting a quarterback. So, like, all this, the Lions might be good. Yeah, my team, the Jets were supposed to go to the Super Bowl this year, or at least contend. I actually had a moment where I thought Jets-Lions would be the weirdest, but maybe possible Super Bowl.
Tell him, Jeff.
Zach Wilson is not an NFL quarterback. And I actually was going through my head today, what should the Jets do? And I came up with 3 names. I know this isn't about the Lions at all, but I just want to say, if I could throw a 3rd or 4th round pick to the Colts for Gardner Minshew, maybe I do it. If I could do the same for Jameis Winston with the Saints, maybe I do it. And as insane as this sounds, do I call Carson Wentz?
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you
absolutely.
this, Jeff. Since you said Carson Wentz, would you take Carson Wentz? And let me throw another name into the mix, Nick Foles.
I mean, no. I mean, come on. I mean, they've been talking about Matt Ryan. I mean, who I really would like, honestly, the best thing they could do, it's not going to happen because he's a Giants backup, but a guy like Tyrod Taylor, like just kind of a Minshew, a Teddy Bridgewater, like a solid NFL backup fringe starter, because the Jets are loaded. The Jets are like the Lions. The Jets are loaded right now. They are. They are a Super Bowl caliber roster with a guy who probably doesn't start a quarterback for USC this year. Like, it's a bad scene.
I think with Zach Wilson, I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. I think with Zach Wilson, you heard the saying, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Zach Wilson is the opposite. He had to get ready mentally because he was going in a game, and we saw throughout the game he was trying to get ready and make adjustments, and then get ready to make adjustments. Then halftime happened, and then the third quarter happened, and then he somewhat was ready into the fourth, with that great throw to Garrett Wilson. And so I understand your point. I agree with you that Zach Wilson is not that guy. He had an opportunity to be the guy, and it just didn't work out, thus bringing in Aaron Rodgers, and then now you have to find a guy.
I'm sorry, but I got to correct you. That was not a good throw. That was an amazing catch. That was a horrible
good point.
That was a horrible throw.
Good point.
Wait, and then the funny thing was Garrett Wilson.
The catch was phenomenal. Yes, I agree with you with that. Everyone handed over 2 defenders. I agree.
I couldn't let that go. I'm sorry.
No, that is correct.
Everything about that throw was terrible. And after the game, they interviewed Garrett Wilson about Zach Wilson. And it was kind of like watching Peyton Manning talk about Zach Wilson during the game, which was phenomenal because Peyton Manning is clearly a nice guy who doesn't want to take a dump on other quarterbacks. But even Garrett Wilson, he was like, yeah, you know,
it's facial
like,
expression.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You can't win with Zach Wilson as your starting quarterback. And Trubisky, I would take Trubisky right now over Zach Wilson in a second.
Yeah, that's a fair.
I would take Mason Rudolph
another...
over Zach Wilson.
Would I?
Second.
Yeah.
And as we're trying to get and Ben and Gary, I want to get you guys in this conversation. I just Zach Wilson, you just think like Zach. It's like they try to force it when they were drafting him, right? Like you get rid of Sam Darnold, and it's like you're putting yourself in the same situation with drafting Zach Wilson. I just didn't see it. They could have had Justin Fields. You know what I mean? Like the second overall pick. I'm just like, where the hell did this dude come from? From BYU. I'm like, why are y'all trying to force this? It was like, I lost all respect for Todd McShay. I don't listen to him anymore when he tried to say that Blaine Gabbert was going to be the better prospect than Cam Newton after Cam Newton arguably had the most dominant season.
Man, I'm sorry, Jeff, but I just like I hate scouts and personnel and analysts that ignore game film. Film. Justin Fields, Ohio State playing in front of 100,000 plus fans.
You know what I mean?
Come on. Talk about that pressure versus BYU pressure. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Real. Like, watch the game.
Yeah, but Ben and Gary, let's get your final thoughts and let's keep this thing rolling, folks. Ben and Gary.
I just want to say Josh Allen was absolutely horrible. Arguably was playing for the Jets. Like
that next segment.
That was horrible. The first interception, I don't really want to place any blame on. It was better than a punt. If you punt it, it's probably going in the end zone. It's a touchback to the 20. The first interception, I can't put too much blame. It's third and long, throws it down. It's like the 10-yard line or something. But the other two, and then the fumble, oh my God. It's like he forgot how to play. And then it got in his head, and then he played worse. So that's what I had, and I'm glad you brought up the catch, Marissa. The other thing talking about Zach Wilson, I know we don't want to beat a dead horse, but you can tell the coaching staff doesn't trust him at all. Everything was a screen pass. It was run the ball, screen pass, run the ball, screen pass, run the ball, screen pass. Like, that's all they did until it was third and long. Every other pass was a screen pass. Like, you don't have to say you don't trust your quarterback. We watched it. You threw screen passes until you couldn't throw a screen pass. So they know what they have in Zach Wilson, and they know they have to at least try to upgrade. There's a lot of options, as we talked about. I personally think if I'm being honest, the best of bad options, I think, is Carson Wentz. Out of all the options, I mean, none of them are great. I lean Wentz for two reasons: no draft compensation, and you're going to get him for cheap.
Yeah.
And he's going to say yes because he wants to play, and he wants to play for a great team. Yeah. And so I think that's the best out of the options. But Gary, what you got?
And Gary, I'm going to throw a stat real quick to you. Zach Wilson, 14 of 21 passing, 140 yards, total QBR.
Insane.
22.6. I'm gonna leave that right there.
That's insane.
Woo, Lord, y'all about to get my blood pressure up. Just think about it. About to get a diabetic heart attack up in this mother. But Gary, go ahead.
So I'm not going to go into great detail because that's what my gripes will be about. But I will say this, Jets fans. You guys aren't allowed nice things, and I don't understand why that's the case. Like, first of all, I shouldn't give a rat's ass about whether y'all won or lost last night. Be very clear about that as a Giants fan. But I found myself rooting for you guys because, like, what do you even do about that? Like, your entire dream season, we sat here and talked all summer long about what this team can look like. I've jokingly said congratulations on a 12-5 season and a loss in the divisional round. Like, all that has been blown the hell up. And now you sit there and you wonder, like, yes, you had this emotional come from behind win. It was 9/11 MetLife Stadium. You know, you had to pick up that crowd because they just witnessed in 3 plays the plan blow up right in front of them, and you find yourselves wondering, like, how do we get up from this? And for at least 1 week, the Jets got up from it. Now the question becomes, like, how do you keep going?
Mhm.
Jeff, you're absolutely right. Zach Wilson isn't it. We all know this. Robert Sala's face as he's watching Aaron Rodgers being helped was that of, like, this season I was supposed to be coach of the year. I might lose my job.
He's 12-23.
Like that
Mhm.
whole juxtaposition from one moment to the next is crazy to see on live television, but it happened and we saw it. Now, you mentioned Gardner Minshew. You mentioned Matt Ryan. Yeah, look, you throw Philip Rivers out there. You can throw Ryan Fitzpatrick. Maybe get a little more Fitzmagic out of him, just a little bit. Like, I think for the Jets, you get whatever you can out of this season because you realize with a loaded roster that window is going to close. We just saw this, and the best example of this is the very team that they beat last night. Buffalo, first of all, Josh Allen is Brett Favre 2.0.
Hey, Gary, real quick. Jeff's got to run, so let's give Jeff the last word, and then we'll get right back to you.
Oh, no, that was actually Gary. I can't disagree with anything you were saying there. I was actually looking at my phone. So one of my closest friends is a writer named Michael J. Lewis, not Moneyball Michael Lewis. And I missed the Rodgers injury. And I look at my phone and he just wrote, this is right after Rodgers got hurt. I missed it because I was taking care of my kids. And I read, why can't we have nice things ever?
Seriously.
With 4 questions.
Like, I'm over here watching. It's like,
yeah.
No. Come on, like, really?
Also, I just want to say, like, even like, all right, like, it's funny. So in my lifetime, I'm 51 years old. And the Jet quarterback, so I never had Namath in my lifetime. And basically, like, if you say Packers, who are the 5 best quarterbacks of the last so and so years? You got Favre, you got Rodgers, Lynn Dickey was a good quarterback, Don Majkowski was a good quarterback. If you ask me, best quarterbacks, it's Ken O'Brien, Vinny Testaverde, Richard Todd, Chad Pennington. It's just garbage. It's garbage. And we get Aaron Rodgers to play for the Jets. And yeah, he's 100 years old, but it's Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets. And here I sit now just realizing there's no chance they're not going to contend for Super. You can get Gardner Minshew, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston. It's not going to matter. They're not you can't win with those guys as your quarterback. But I'm rooting for the line. Marissa, on behalf of, my family to yours, I would love to at least see the Lion fan base because you guys have sweet ass uniforms and you suffered for so long.
Thank you.
And I like the Jared Goff redemption story. And, I could watch some of those guys are just, Dan Campbell, I love how Dan Campbell has this diverse staff. Like that really spoke to me during.
I love it.
A lot of former running backs. Deuce Staley
and Aaron Glenn, the former Jet. So like
Glenn,
it's just cool. And Aiden Hutchinson seems like a legit decent guy. And you have to root for that team. So in acknowledging that the Jets are about to finish 5-12, Marissa, you have my support.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks for having me on today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys. Take care. Best of luck to y'all.
Take care. All right, Mr. Gary, continue as you were saying, kind sir.
Yeah, like this, you like Jeff just nailed it. Like, you can put whoever you want back there. None of them are going to be Aaron Rodgers, and frankly, we didn't even know if Aaron Rodgers was going to be Aaron Rodgers this season. But we're not going to find out now. And now, we find like I said, for the Jets, Robert Saleh. Is this a mulligan year for him because the master plan was blown up, or does he not survive this and they go back to the drawing board? For the Jets, it's like you got to strike sooner rather than later, and hopefully Aaron Rodgers can come back. But like I said to you guys earlier in the text, at 40, does he? Can he? It's not. I don't think it's a matter of does he want to, because I originally mentioned does he want to, but I feel like at this stage, like, Kevin Durant came back from it, but Kevin Durant was a whole 10 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Like it's not.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
I think that I don't know. I mean, we're not in his head. We're not friends with him. We're not people with anyone he's close to or anything. But I think, and this is all we can make is an educated guess, I think that he will do everything he possibly can to play again, because any athlete who has pride, which obviously he doesn't want that to be the last play of his career. Now, physically, will he be able to? That's a totally another question. To me, I think that, and again, we will never know. We're just speculating here, but I think that being as competitive as he is, and he did seem to be bought into the Jets. I mean, granted, training camp, everything's rosy, nothing to complain or blame anyone about really, but he did seem to be bought in. So I think that on a human level, I think part of him maybe will feel bad that he let them down. That will possibly even motivate him more to come back. But it's a matter. We'll see.
I was going to say too, Ben, that that Aaron Rodgers has a full season on the Pat McAfee show. So there's going to be a lot that he's going to share about this recovery journey, as well as, him being on the sidelines and seeing what decisions that is going to be made with the Jet staff and who they're going to have as, QB1 going forward. And we're going to find out, more behind the scenes of that because, him and Pat McAfee are very tight. They have that relationship where he feels comfortable on that show. It's a safe space where for him to share, his thoughts and feelings and everything else. And, Pat McAfee and his team there do very well, in interviews and so forth, and had that relationship with him. So, we'll find out a lot throughout the weeks on, how his healing is going to progress. And, as we chatted and as we said, think about Alex Smith coming back from that horrible, gruesome injury that affected his leg, was told, don't go back to the NFL by, a one Terry Bradshaw. And he came back and, proved a lot of people wrong and then retired afterwards. So, I don't think that he's going to go out like that. He's going to do whatever he can. It takes 6 to 9 months for a full Achilles tendon to heal 100% with the proper recovery process and the training on it.
I think if he plays again, it'll be in October.
Yeah.
They'll give him a full extra month.
Yeah. And again, I know that we're talking about a dude that's younger, but Cam Akers literally in the Super Bowl season tore his Achilles in August, came back 3 months later and was bouncing around like he was a 6-year-old on the playground. I'm not saying it's going to be to that level, but to your point, Marissa, I do think the Achilles injury is a horrific, gruesome injury. But when I look at the type of style of play, Gary, when it comes to what he relies on, he relies more on his arm. And the way that technology and medical advancements have been made, there have been enough players that have been able to come back. I think that he'll be able to come back relatively decently healthy. Being that the offensive line can stay up, well, we don't know. I still think he can come back because do you really want that? If you're a Hall of Fame quarterback, do you really want your last play to ever play the game is 4 snaps into the first game? You don't want to go out like that. You don't. So
no, and you're absolutely right about that. And I feel like, to your point, yes, he just needs the arm strength back. But, we also don't want to see a 40-year-old super compromised quarterback trying to lead this team when, as we're seeing every day, every week, every season, they're getting younger and they're getting faster. Like, he's not.
No, it's all facts. It's all facts. And it's going to be very, very, very interesting to be able to watch. But let's get to one of the segments that I was really looking forward to here. It was definitely some of the takeaways from week 1. And, for me, there were definitely a lot that, that were really kind of standing out to me. And, guys, Tua, Mr. Concussion himself. Man, that dude is something like when he's fully locked in. This guy's something special, and he outplayed Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, there's 2 things. One, the 2 quarterbacks that got the money. Well, Joe Burrow, I'll leave that to someone else. 83 yards of total offense, but I'll leave that one alone. But Tua had 466 yards passing, and Tyreek Hill was Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, how far can the Dolphins really go now that Aaron Rodgers is gone? I mean, that's got to be a good thing for the Dolphins, yay or nay?
Yeah, so if the Dolphins continue to protect him and, we don't see him week 2, 3, or 4, as we did last season, almost midway through where, he was trying to go up to the line of scrimmage and he was stumbling all over the place. I mean, I have to give the Dolphins offense, besides him, some credit. I mean, that was just absolutely amazing. And it was such a competitive game throughout. And, Tua played like the Tua that I remember when he was at Alabama. And, having that arm strength, can scramble in the pocket, can make those passes, those sharp, crisp, clean passes. When I was watching it back, they reminded me of that. And so, I it's going to be exciting to see, and I'm curious to see how far. And I was talking to somebody, it was a couple of Miami Dolphins fans. They were excited to see. They just had that stipulation of, how long can this last? Of, Miami literally possibly winning their division if they continue to play like they did this past Sunday.
No doubt. And Marissa, because I know you have to go soon, so Ben and Gary, I'm going to call a little bit of audible. Marissa, I really want your thoughts on I just want to do your takeaway from week 1, your surprise of week 1, and your overreaction. I want to get you in those 3 things before you have to go. Give you 2 minutes here, 2 or 3 minutes, take the floor, and then Ben and Gary will give it to you. But I just want to get your thoughts on those because I'm dying to know as a Lions fan.
My surprise, what I just shared was actually part of that was the Miami Dolphins game, but also Jordan Love's performance. It was like he was waiting for this opportunity. Now that Aaron Rodgers has moved on to another team, I want people to see that I can actually play. And I was chatting with you guys, and I think I asked the question either to you guys or somebody else. I'm like, okay, does the Bears are they really this bad? Or, I mean, here's the thing, gentlemen. This is the second, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the second game that Jordan Love is playing versus
second game starting?
Second game starting.
Yeah, versus the Chiefs, the COVID when Rodgers had COVID.
Yeah, I mean,
started against the Chiefs in this one. That's it.
And I'm just like, this is his second game starting, and just how he just went off, and how the team just pretty much just picked apart the Bears like this. Like I was just absolutely stunned about how they just stifled them so bad the whole entire game. And this was Justin Fields' 29th start versus someone who's just starting for the second time. So I was just very surprised how lost in the sauce, if you will, of Justin Fields, his decision making, and just looking like that he was a rookie at times throughout this game. So Jordan Love, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, I was just saying, the man sat for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's, and like, you got to admit, and Gary, you got to admit, like, he's coming into a really good situation. I mean, LaFleur is not a bad coach, and the weapons that he has a damn good running game with Jones and Dillon. Good receivers on the outside, not great, but Watson hasn't even played yet, who I think is their best receiver. I mean, a lot of people sleep on him, and I really think they're going to be a lot better. But
I want to say at the end of what you just said is that, Jeff, we heard through Hard Knocks how Zach Wilson and the QB backups, how they learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers. During that 3 years that Jordan Love sat there on the bench, there had to be 3 years of nuggets and takeaways that he took from Aaron Rodgers, knowing possibly, and now, we already know that he's no longer with the team. So now the reins are going to be with Jordan Love. So whatever he learned during that time from Aaron Rodgers, it definitely showed on the field. I mean, 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's some kind of takeaway that enhanced your game better, because there was no way in the world with 4 of us sitting here and those that are going to be watching this and watching it on playback that Jordan Love was going to be that guy that day.
Hey, not surprised. But before you go, what is your
my overreaction is everybody needs to calm down about Joey Burrow. He had a horrible day. He's playing hurt. I don't think he's fully healed. Yes, he got the bag. He may have been excited about him getting the bag, and him and his agent and everybody celebrated ahead of time and everything else. And it was one of the worst performances that I've seen him have since when he got hurt his first year into his NFL career. And he admitted it. He owned it. It was absolutely horrendous. I was going to say that, Josh Allen was going to be my overreaction because Bills fans wanted to dismiss him. And, a few of them were burning his jerseys and saying, oh, my God, he stinks. And how does 3 straight interceptions go to the same person, Jordan Whitehead? Chill, everybody. Calm down. Week 1. We are overreacting. Joey Burrow got embarrassed. It's going to be replayed over and over on ESPN, and the media people are going to analyze it as they do. It's their job. But I think he turns it around, and he will show up and show out in the next several weeks. Their schedule is not an easy one. But you know what? When you get the bag and your agent goes before the table and thinks that you're deservingly so, we need to see the Joe Burrow of old before he had the additional dollars that are now in his bank account. So everybody just calm down. Cincinnati Bengals fans, calm down before, you flip the script and get upset. I know it's against your rival there. And what did old boy said that they lost to the Elves? Well, yeah, you did. It wasn't the Keebler elf, but what are you going to learn from this to make you better in week 2?
Right.
So,
no doubt. Gary, your thoughts? I'm going to get you on this one.
So, I mean, like Marissa said, Jordan Love, he might be real. He might be. I'm trying my hardest not to overreact about anything from this past week because you're seeing a lot of the quarterbacks that during the preseason didn't play. What happens? They come out week 1 and they play like crap. Like that's let's consider this their first true preseason game. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying my hardest not to look at any of the quarterbacks' performances and going, that's indicative of the whole season. Except for Justin Fields. Wow.
Jeez.
Except for Kenny Pickett, double wow. Because they still have something to prove, but
I mean, to be fair, that was like the 49ers defense is probably the best in the league. But I get what you're saying. But
I'm like I said, my whole thing is, I know we're going to talk about overreactions and all that. I'm trying my hardest not to because as a Giants fan, it would be real easy to sit here and go into full panic mode. But I really think that Sunday night was a bit of an anomaly between the heavy rains. Because listen, I'm not going to make excuses for him. Neither with Brian Daboll. Like, they played like crap. They were terrible. They were horseshit ugly. It was bad. It was just bad football across the board. And there's no excuse for it. But it was raining heavily in New York. It wasn't their night, and I don't think that we're going to see a lot of 40-0 blowouts from that team going forward. So that's where I'm like, everybody needs to be alert, but relax. This is just consider this week 5 of the preseason, and the real season starts beginning Thursday night with the Eagles and Vikings game.
Yeah.
No, speaking of Eagles and Vikings, I think that there's going to be a repeat beatdown. Eagles are going to come hot because even though they won, they aren't happy with how they played.
No.
So I think it's going to be another spank down just like when they played last Thursday. But let me get to takeaways for week 1. I'll be quick. I got 3. I've been saying for months, and I'm going to stick with it, the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. If the majority of their players are healthy, I'm going to single out a trio, Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. They all play 15 games or more. I know it's a huge if, but I've said for months, and I'm going to stay consistent with it. I get Miami winning the AFC East, given all of that. I also wrote down Ravens training staff, WTF.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
How?
Oh my God, I so forgot.
How?
Yeah.
I literally wrote down Ravens training staff, WTF. It's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing.
I thought Aaron Rodgers was bad, but I'm like, J.K. Dobbs, like, I said to you guys in the chat, you don't want to be a running back in Baltimore anymore. Like, because you can't stay healthy. Your best running back is Lamar Jackson, technically. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, modern day Vic. Real quick on one other one. I'll save Dallas for later, so I'll go to the Browns. The Browns roster, top to bottom, both sides of the ball, is one of the best 5 in the entire league. A lot of it is going to depend, like anything else, it's a quarterback-driven league. So what are we going to see out of Deshaun Watson over the whole season? One game is one game. But top to bottom, that Browns roster is stacked. And I think that they love that everybody's talking about everybody else. Everybody's talking about the Steelers, the Bengals, the Ravens. Nobody's talking about Cleveland, and frankly, they probably love it like that too. They got to put it all together, and so it's not like a guarantee they're going to go 13-4 or anything, but their roster, if you just look at it on paper, it's an amazing roster.
But Ben, to your point though, like if Deshaun Watson was putting up top 5 QB numbers his last 2 seasons with Houston with very underwhelming talent, right?
He led the league in passing his last full season.
Exactly. Now you get Amari Cooper. A lot of people are still sleeping on Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper ain't no scrub. You look at those receivers.
You see what the Browns did as soon as they got Amari is restructured his deal. Why the hell didn't Dallas do that instead of trading him?
Yeah, like it's just
you could have restructured his deal the same thing as Cleveland did. Like what?
They could win the division because I think Deshaun Watson is a legit quarterback. Like you talk about Dak with his horrendous season last year, but you look at the overall sample size. The overall sample size for Deshaun Watson is very promising, and I think that he's going to only get better as he develops more continuity. And you freaking got Nick Chubb, who I think, outside of Austin Eckler, is one of the top 3 running backs. He's very boring, but he's going to give you 1,600 yards every year.
Oh,
I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. But one overreaction I just want to get in here real quick before you go, Marissa, is the Rams. And I don't want to crown them champions, okay? They won 30-13, and we got to give it to Sean McVay. Like, Sean McVay is a hell of a coach. To have that young team with over 35 rookies on that team, to be able to go into a hostile environment in Seattle and to be able to win that game, right? Stafford still threw for 330 yards without Kupp, Williams, and Cam Akers was pretty much a no-show, but he still threw for 3 touchdowns in that effort, right? I mean,
Jeff, real quick, the second half was 23-0.
Yeah.
Right?
Second
and they controlled time of
23-0.
possession. They had time of possession 39 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay, like that's a lot of freaking time, man. A lot of time. So Rams, overreaction, not gonna crown them champions. You won 1 game. You're gonna be one of the worst teams in the NFL. So Rams fans, you're gonna suck. Just get used to it. So just enjoy that moment.
Did we get any takeaways for you, Gary? We did, right?
Yeah, my takeaway is that everything week 1 was a bit of a wash. Like there's nothing there was nothing that I said, okay, this is indicative of how this season is going, except for the Jets. Except for that, because but again, it became more of how devastating of a loss that actually is.
Yeah. Hey Gary, why don't we it's okay with everyone. Surprises for week 1. Go for it.
The surprises for week 1. I mean, let's start with your Cowboys, Ben. Like, they scored 40 points, and your quarterback did not throw a touchdown pass. That's scary.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Dallas is going to be like an all-time great defense, but they're damn good. They like, and frankly, like I knew it was going to be a long night when our first drive ends with a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. I should have known that it was going to be bad from that point. I didn't think it was going to be 40-0 bad, but like, yeah, yikes.
Well, I posted it.
Hey.
No, but thank you for that, because that one went over my head, but I'm glad somebody caught it. So, but yeah, key takeaway was like Dallas's defense is better and further showed that. Jeff, your Broncos.
I mean, like, why did I say? But hold on now. I did not Ben, you were
No. I'm laughing at Gary's how he did it.
Hey,
Nothing
listen,
about the Broncos.
I'm not.
Yeah,
Listen,
that's
I'm
what
right
I'm
there
laughing
with
at.
you. Listen, Gary, I'm right there with you. Like I did not, even with Sean Payton and Ben. You and I talked about this. You put Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton's records together, playoff Super Bowls. The records are pretty much identical. I think Sean Payton's 9-8 in the playoffs, or 11-10.
Yeah, one of the others. One's 9-8.
Right, that's what
One's
I'm
9-8.
saying.
One's 11-10.
So
Same
like
thing.
to me, Sean Payton is a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl since 2008, 2009.
Oh, no, they're the 09 Saints. Yeah.
Okay, so like my thing is, I'm like, okay, it's great. They have more. They're going to be more disciplined, but at the end of the day, this is about trying to maximize your window to be able to win a championship, and I just do not see it with this team.
It's almost like those two are like Kirk Cousins and Tony Romo and Dak. Besides, they do have one ring.
Yeah.
Those three quarterbacks have zero. But other than that, the comparison is like perfect. A lot of regular season wins, but
it's the same issues. We lost our first home opener, our first game against the Seahawks 17-16. Okay. The issue is scoring points, and like our field goal kicker missed a goddamn field goal on that extra point. That's what it always comes down to.
That's
one game at a time. I want 9 wins, y'all. 9 wins. Just like you wanted 6, Gary, last year. I want my 9. Get my 9. I'll be good to go. And beat Kansas City.
Not bad. Let me throw out Jeff. You covered the Rams. That was one of my surprises, so I'll throw that out. But the Eagles defense, it's only one game, but a little bit of a concern. I'm saying it like this, a little bit.
They lost some players. They lost some key players, though. So
I know, but you allow Mac Jones to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like I said, a tiny bit concerned. Watch them go allow 7 points to Minnesota, and everything will be right in the world. So that's why I just a little bit concerned. And then the Vikings. Speaking of the Vikings, forget the score of the game and how they lost. I know you lost Dalvin Cook. You threw it 44 times, and 14 times you ran the ball, and the score was with the possession. It was within one possession the entire game, and you passed it 44 times, and you ran it 14. Like know who you are. Like you have Kirk Cousins. Like that. That is those numbers are if you're like down by 14 most of the game. You should not have that much of discrepancy when the game was within one possession. And Baker Mayfield, he didn't play great, but when it mattered, he made the more important plays. So in the clutch time, he stepped up. So give him a little bit of credit. But yeah, the Vikings, the discrepancy, the run in the past, it just stood out.
Yeah, the Vikings, I think the Vikings, Gary, and we talked about this, they're fugazi, as you like to say, 13-4 last year. I think this year they are going to be absolutely atrocious. And I don't even think they're going to have a winning record. I mean, I think that they're probably going to go 7-9, maybe 7-9, 6 and whatever. I mean, they're the Vikings and the Kirk Cousins after all. The chickens are going to come home to roost on that one.
Look, as long as the games are in prime time, then they have a shot. Once it gets too dark out, it's bedtime, and then this is what happens. So,
yeah.
They don't have a lot of prime time games for a reason because they know. Prime Cousins is not a thing.
And Gary, I'm going to say to your Giants, like, I think it's overreaction to clown them and say that, okay, they got blown out, that all of a sudden their season's lost. I still believe in this team. I mean, yes, it's a bad – look, teams get blown out of one of the two. I'm not saying the Giants are going to win it, but people get their ass beat. Pardon my French. I mean, you get blown out. You get blown out sometimes. You know, it was a bad game.
We got punched in the mouth. Straight up down. We got punched square in the mouth.
Yeah,
and
right? Like, I think now
happens.
Right? Now you got Darren Waller, who I think is a legitimate, like, option for you guys. And – you know, like I still think that they can make a run.
See, here's what bothered me. Even if I was a Giants fan, this is what would have bothered me from that game. Forget the score. The first drive of the game, you drive down the field because you're running it down our throat, and you're doing it well. Then you have a missed snap, whatever, field goal. Okay, it's 7-0, and it's like, okay, well, it's 7-0. We didn't score like 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns, and then you're like, you know what? Crap, now we got to pass. It's like you just went down the field running the ball, and it's only 7-0. Why
It's
did
like
why did you to turn into, oh, let's be Aaron Rodgers and let's throw it? It was only 7-0. You played to the strength of the Dallas defense, which is obviously the pass rush, and you saw how that went down. Like, it was just stupid that they had so much success on the ground that first drive, and then they just completely ignored it like the rest of the game.
Yeah.
No, they aborted their entire game plan after that, and it showed, and it was just very, very sad to see. But like you said, Jeff, I don't think that's indicative of what this Giants season is going to look like. I said before, I asked for 9, like you did, Jeff, for your Broncos. I'm asking for 9, but the difference between last season's 9 wins and this season's 9 wins is just how more competitive the NFC is this season, or it appears to be. So we'll see what it manifests, what 9 wins will actually look like for them. But as I said many times, and I posted the Anchorman quote repeatedly, it's not a good start, but keep going.
Yeah. All you got to do is keep going. That's all you got to do. But Garrett, let's get to your gripes here, sir, because
Let me throw out some overreactions real quick.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, Benjamin, I'm so sorry. I forgot about that. Go ahead, buddy.
You're good, man. You're good. I'll be quick. I know we only said 1, but I got 3. Super quick. Bam, bam, bam. The Bengals and the Chiefs are in trouble. No, they're not. Overreaction. Big time.
I'm sorry. I'll rebut that, but go ahead, Ben.
Okay, fair enough. Second overreaction. Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. Like, calm down. No, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you if that's what you really believe. I can't talk to you. Number 3, the Packers are going to be better with Jordan Love this year. They might be, but you can't say that after 1 game. So there's were my 3.
So all I'm going to say is with Kansas City, I hope they lose every goddamn game. I really hope. I really do.
Like a true Broncos fan.
But like honestly, but here's my thing. Okay,
Yep.
And Gary, the Chiefs have been playing with house money for the last several years. Okay, you lose Tyreek Hill. Okay, you wonder how you're going to be able to replace it, but you still have Travis Kelce. And I said that it's going to force them to be more balanced on offense. So they have Pacheco, McKinnon, like those cats. They were able to kind of get a good running game because Clyde Edwards-Helaire just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And then you had Valdez-Scantling, and then you had Juju Smith-Schuster, who were good check down safety options for him. They were not deep threat type of receivers, but Juju and Valdez-Scantling are still good quality veteran receivers that you could still win a Super Bowl with. Now you don't have that. Now you have Travis Kelce, who I really think this is not like the beginning of the end for Travis Kelce, but Father Time's undefeated, and eventually the injuries are going to start to kick in. That little lingering soft tissue issue, those soft tissue injuries are going to be lingering a little bit longer. I'm not saying he's going to break down, but something tells me that he's still going to be good, but I think that his productivity is not going to be there because of his inability to be on the field, not because of ability. So now you lose him. You got Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, who's the Lions player of the game. And like this is really going to be the year, Gary. Like,
I'm sorry, Jeff, but they are playing with fire. Being like, you know what, we got Mahomes, we're good. You're playing with fire.
And Gary, like it's just they're the Chiefs, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And this is not like my rant, but like you can see, like it's a little bit different, and this offense is going to look drastically different. And they're relying too much on Pat Mahomes, and you don't want to do that. You want a brilliant quarterback, but you also want really fantastic playmakers. That's all I'm going to say to rebut your statement, Ben. I really think the Chiefs are in trouble, but you got Pat Mahomes, so I'm still going to give them.
It's sports, man. I like it when we don't agree. We can't always agree. And for anyone who doesn't know, we don't script anything.
And I will say this, like with the Chiefs, I know, Jeff, you want them to lose every game. I look at them. I look at that week 1 result. I'm like, okay, they'll go 13-4 instead of 14-3. Like, we'll sit here and panic now, and then come Christmas, it's like, all right, who's actually going to beat the Chiefs?
I
feel
mean,
like that's where we're going to end up at.
but
I mean,
teams have
Kadarius
been
Toney
doing
had, I think it was 4 drops. If he caught one of them,
yeah, they could win the game.
One of the 4, they would have won.
But Ben, it's not my concern is not just because of my absolute hatred for this crappy team.
No. Your concerns are valid. I'm not.
I really think even if they won the game, that there's still concerns. But again, they're just concerns. Like I don't. They deserve the credit and the respect as 2-time Super Bowl champions recently that they're going to be able to correct it. But Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney are 2 cats that are going to have, and they don't even have Hardman anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
hey, you know what? This just came to me like literally right now. Jarvis Landry. He doesn't have a job right now. Might not be a bad. I mean, sign him to a minimum deal. See what they can do.
I mean, what do you got to lose at this point?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But we'll see. But anyway, Gary, we do have to conclude here. So what is your gripe, sir?
New York sports. Pretty bad weekend. Like Giants, 40-0 loss. Jets, yes, you won, but you lost at the same time.
Yeah.
Mets, fat. The Yankees in the most what? Now I said this to both of you guys already yesterday. The Yankees threw a perfect game, was no hit for 10 innings another game, and came back to win it. And they're just now a 500 team. Like, and now I'm sitting here looking at the Knicks and the Nets, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a long year because, this is what I warned everybody about. This was the cautionary tale that I told you guys in a previous episode.
Don't worry, Gary. The Knicks are getting Dame Lillard.
And then he gets hurt and misses 35 games, and then they go back to being a 500 team and making the play-in barely. Like, we have to be careful just across the board because we are right now in a bit of a sports hell. Just a little bit. Like, we had a bit of sports heaven last season. You saw the Jets starting to show signs. You saw the Giants, playing above what they were expecting to play. Yankees and Mets both make the playoffs and have outstanding years. The Knicks and Nets both make the playoffs. And it's been shit ever since. Like, one thing after another. And I'm just like, New York fans, if you temper your expectations just a little bit, you won't be as stressed. Trust me, I've gone through it. In fact, here, I'll give you something right now. Go Liberty, because they're about to beat everybody's ass in the WNBA playoffs and win the WNBA championship.
Brandon Stewart, AP Player of the Year.
And do you know how crazy that'll be that the Liberty will get a championship before the Knicks? And I'm done with that. So.
Hey, one, got to give props to the Liberty because Sabrina Ionescu and Brandon Stewart. I mean, Brandon Stewart was the best player on a team that won 4 straight national championships for UConn. And then they're playing the Aces and beat the snot out of them twice. For those who don't watch WNBA, the Vegas Aces are, I mean, they're up there. They're like the creme de la creme of WNBA. But I just have one thing. Team USA basketball. Okay.
Okay. No, Jeff, go first. Yeah, go.
All I'm going to say is, okay, beat us when we have our best players, okay? The World Cup, I get it. Okay, losing the World Cup, okay, whatever, all right? But Lithuania, Germany, and Canada are not beating us when we have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Draymond Green.
LeBron said he wants to come back.
And LeBron, like, even at 40 years old.
At 40, he's better than half the people on this roster.
Right? The Olympics is the creme de la creme, okay? Joker and Giannis didn't even play in the World Cup. I'm not freaking out about the World Cup. Honestly, who gives a crap?
Not at all.
Beat us. We have 4 straight gold medals. Beat us at our best. then come talk to me. Jalen Brunson, hell of a player. Austin Reeves, heck of a player. I mean, when you have Bobby Portis, okay, I'm sorry, but you're not. I mean, you got Bobby Portis. You deserve to lose. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, the roster you sent, you don't care about winning.
That's it.
I think it's a little bit of that, but I also think it's a little bit of these teams that beat them, or that you talk about France, Lithuania and Germany. They have NBA players on their roster. They're playing like it's not like they're in like '92 where you're playing a bunch of names that you've never heard before that Barcelona games. You're playing against names that you see players from the same team playing against each other. Like
Gilchrist Alexander, who I think is a budding superstar.
Sorry?
Shane Gilchrist Alexander.
SGA.
Yeah, he's budding superstar.
Like, it's not the same. It's not like it was in '92. We're not playing no names. We're playing other players that we see actively in the NBA busting ass. Like, it's not. I'm not freaking out because, again, the competition should be better because most of them are coming from the NBA.
Yeah,
or at least played in the NBA. Like,
but I think that's what makes it better, though. I think the competition. Like, I don't want us to be blowing out everyone. Like, I think for the game of basketball, like I'm a basketball, like I want USA basketball to dominate, but I'm a fan of basketball first. Like I'm not
like that 2008 final.
Yeah,
against Spain with Pau Gasol. Like that was back and forth the whole way.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah. I don't want blowouts. I don't want, them coming in like 92, blowing out people 40-0. Yeah. So, but guys, it was great having you guys back on. Ben, great job getting Jeff Pearlman. I do have to commend you, man, on these guests that you've been bringing on. Great quality guests, great quality stuff. Gary, I will send you your tissue for that 40-0 blowout.
Yeah,
and
we'll be okay.
Honestly,
when you guys come to Dallas, it's gonna be within 10 points. It's gonna be close. I mean,
the Giants are not a bad team, man. Like they're like this game is not.
They're better than what they showed Sunday.
Yeah, y'all are way better. And I like Daniel Jones, man. Like after last season, you know what? Because of you, Gary, I gained a newfound respect for Daniel Jones. I really do. Like, I think you guys are going to make the playoffs.
Like, last thing I'll say, and then we can wrap it up on this. Like, if the game was like 21-17 or like something like closer, it would suck a little bit more. But they got blown out in week 1. I think it's one of those, everybody that's a Giants fan is like, all right, y'all got it. Come see us when everybody's got a little seasoning to them. So
look at Dallas last year, 40-3 against Minnesota, losing the divisional round.
Exactly.
More of the same.
Exactly. But guys, it was great. We'll be back again next Tuesday. And next week I will be doing my Heisman watch.
Yes.
I'm really excited about doing that. My top 5 Heisman watch. We wanted to wait a couple weeks to start getting some stats. So be on the lookout for that. Also be on the lookout for like our top 10. Going to be start talking about like our top 5, top 10 college football teams.
We definitely getting college football next week.
And Barry, I know I excited you're talking about that. But Ben, what do you think about trying to do a poll for the best all-time college football teams?
I'm going to say yes, but not yet.
Okay, we will get there.
Yes, but not yet.
We will get there. But all right, well, folks, that's a wrap for tonight. I want to thank you guys for all the support. Episode 102. We are going to be at episode 200 by the year 2028. Y'all be watching now. All right, take care and go Von Miller. All right, bye, guys.